Chapter 91 Intermission, The Huge Fire-Burning Sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The instant the forbidden technique, physical transformation, repaired his heart, Uchiha's eyes snapped open. He slammed a hand against his chest and charged forward, his gaze locked on Togo Hayato, who writhed in agony. Fire-style chakra mode, activate. Blazing fire chakra erupted around Uchiha, forming a visible aura of fiery energy. Burn, damn you! Beyond the limit, power surged from his heart, flooding every inch of his body. The fire exploded, traces of dark chakra mixed into the flames, creating crackling bursts that intensified the inferno of rage. In the swaying pool of blood, the liquid evaporated, forming a hazy, crimson mist. In the depths of the cave, a miniature sun rose. Eat this. Standing in the center of this blazing light, Uchiha roared and slammed his hands together. The force of the blast pushed back the bloody mist, scattering it in all directions. This power, the forbidden technique? Uchiha Fugaku stared in shock, his eyes wide as he took in Uchiha standing in the fire. What a disaster! He actually mastered it. Fugaku's expression shifted. No, the Nimagatama Sharingan can't use Izanagi. He'll die. Mastering this technique meant he possessed an unparalleled talent for fire chakra control, a rare gift within the entire Uchiha clan. Fugaku, burdened with the responsibility of leading the Uchiha, clenched his fists, a wave of regret washing over him. It felt unbearable, his heart alternating between burning fury and crushing weight. If he'd intervened sooner, he wouldn't have driven the boy to this extreme, had he been too cautious. Nearby, the gale whipped Orochimaru's long hair and cloak wildly. He tilted his head back, staring at the rising sun in the blood pool, his golden snake eyes wide with disbelief. This kind of power, what is this technique? Instantaneous chakra ignition throughout the body, burning chakra to fuel chakra, turning every fiber of flesh and blood into kindling. Hiss. Orochimaru inhaled sharply, drawing in a breath of cold air. His golden eyes reflected the image of the young man, hands clasped together, roaring in anger. This sun, blazing with mortal intensity, this technique utterly opposed to his own ideals, shocked him to his core. It shook his convictions. How could someone be so foolish as to burn themselves out for others? Even Hiruzen Sarutobi's will of fire paled in comparison to such devotion. But Orochimaru quickly remembered his objective. Damn it! He thought, his eyes narrowing. The physical transformation forbidden technique won't be able to keep up with this rate of consumption. This kid's going to die. I have to find a way to save him, then extract the information about that technique from his brain. Orochimaru frowned, desperately searching for a technique to save the boy. Meanwhile, deep underground, Baizetsu watched the scene above, swallowing hard. Now I understand what Madara-sama meant. Even if he's qualified, there's no way this brat can act as Madara-sama's spokesperson. He's too reckless. Injecting chakra now is pointless. The spores would be incinerated before they got close. Even if chakra reached him, it would only fuel the flames. Baizetsu, watching Uchiha commit suicide with the forbidden technique, despaired. Madara-sama, how do you expect me to save this kind of monster? Surrounded by fire, Uchiha looked down at Haiden, the weight of grief crushing him. Haiden's last words, his calling him big brother, were a dagger to his heart. Uchiha knew, better than anyone, that he wasn't worthy to die while carrying someone else's trust, to spout lofty ideals while secretly manipulating them for his own gain. But the kid had taken it seriously. He followed, wanting to witness it firsthand, willing to bet his life on Uchiha. He jumped off a cliff without hesitation, clawing his way back up to buy Uchiha time. When asked to stab himself, he did it without flinching. A heart isn't made of stone. Uchiha saw it all, but, despite his decision to rewrite this tragedy, Haiden had fallen before him. This was the price of ignorance. The cost of belatedly trying to make amends. Now, silence, regret, murderous intent, rage, and sorrow churned in Uchiha's chest, twisting into a deeper darkness. In the next moment, only violence filled Uchiha's eyes. He formed a seal, drawing his blade. The 6-foot-long Luyen sword appeared in his hand, unleashing a fiery arc with a flick of his wrist, he glared at Togo Hayato, who was already fleeing. His eyes burned red, and a sinister smile twisted his lips. Run. You actually think you can run? Ha 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 ha. Let's see you try. Uchiha lunged forward, twisting the sword's hilt. The raging flames consumed the blade, transforming the 6-foot sword into a 40-meter-long fiery behemoth. Wielding the gigantic sword, Uchiha crouched low, shifting his weight, and unleashed a devastating thrust. A circle of fire erupted across a 40-meter radius. Togo Hayato's eyes widened in horror, realizing there was nowhere to escape. His only option was to avoid the blade and drop to the ground. But the next instant, he was engulfed in a sea of fire, black smoke billowed, and the flames raged. Even the evil god Sek's immortal body, with its resistance to ninjutsu, struggled in this environment. He gasped for air, dizziness creeping in. Cough. Togo Hayato coughed, desperately trying to form a seal for a water-style technique, but a tearing wind roared in his ears. He looked up. A colossal sword, wreathed in flames, came crashing down upon his head. Bang. 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 3 devastating blows, sending gravel flying. He was hammered into the ground. The evil god cult's immortal body provided resistance to ninjutsu, but against this overwhelming force, the flames were merely an embellishment. The true damage came from blunt force trauma. No, I can't die here. Togo Hayato screamed, fear etched on his face, as he stared at the descending sword. My ritual, my curse, it's not complete. His head was nearly crushed into his chest, but he still clung to life. He frantically formed the hand seals, finally finishing with the boar seal. He roared. Water style, water formation pillar. He arched his head back, channeling chakra into his throat, and unleashed a torrent. A massive pillar of water erupted, surging upwards against the descending blade, but Uchiha threw his head back and roared with laughter. He. The laughter dripped with scorn. Not enough, not enough. Not even close. What's that? Pebbles? You think you can stop me with that? Ha 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 ha. Trash. Don't make me laugh. Uchiha leapt higher, spinning the 40-meter sword, and brought it crashing down. Raw violence, fueled by scorched flesh, with the ultimate power generated in this way. The 3-meter-wide water pillar was like a pitiful insect trying to stop a chariot. Boom. Another strike. The flame sword sliced through the water like a hot knife through butter, instantly vaporizing Togo Hayato's torrent. A cloud of white mist filled the air. With almost no resistance, the sword fell, carving a 20-meter gash in the earth. The entire cave shook and trembled, as if the world itself was turning over. Togo Hayato endured the blow, his head completely crushed into his chest, his bones and organs pulverized. But he was gone. Earth style, Earth Mausoleum dome again. Uchiha sneered. Didn't you learn your lesson? Under these eyes, where can you hide? Scarlet eyes flashed in the mist, searching left and right. The next moment, Uchiha located Togo Hayato hiding near the cave's exit, dispelled the fiery sword, and aimed the 6-foot blade forward. The blade extended, a jet of red fire shooting out over 20 meters, piercing the ground and pulling Togo Hayato into the open. Lifting him up, pulling him back, then thrusting him forward. Piercing his chest and pinning him to the wall. Clutching the hilt, Uchiha charged, whipping out the shuriken that were about to burn from his pouch, firing them with a flick of his wrist. His index and ring fingers pulled the silk thread, sending the blade spiraling down. Togo Hayato's eyes widened in terror, recognizing those 3 blades. He tore himself from the burning sword and dodged. Wrong again. Uchiha laughed maniacally, discarding the burning thread, gripping the hilt with both hands, and swinging down with all his might. With one strike, Togo Hayato was cleaved in 2, his body flung into the air. Then, 7 more strikes followed. Kasaya cut, against the wind, against the Kasaya, left cross cut followed by a straight chop, right cut followed by a flying uppercut and Tangju. Like playing Fruit Ninja, Togo Hayato was reduced to a pile of offal in the blink of an eye. No. A faint, desperate scream echoed. After it was done, Uchiha stared down, stepping forward and twisting the hilt of the sword. Roaring with rage. Drink ah 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 ah. You can still scream. I'll turn you to ash. Let's see if you fucking die then. He transformed the 6-foot fire sword into a giant flaming weapon, raised it above his head, and brought it crashing down. The raging flames formed a hammer-like blade, pulverizing Togo Hayato into the ground in a gory mess, creating a deep crater. Then, channeling every ounce of chakra into the sword, he plunged it into the pit, igniting a massive conflagration. Boom! The long-awaited message appeared before his eyes. Ding! 3K2 Pure Combat Version. The evil cult plot is over. Please subscribe, please vote. Chapter 92 Near-Death Crisis, The Curse Seal of Heaven. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the battlefield, with the last bit of chakra channeled into the massive, flaming sword in his grip, Uchiha Ci knelt, the sword hilt clutched in his hand. His body was now completely charred, flesh and blood a distant memory. He resembled carbon fiber, a glittering ball of black crystals from afar. This was the Earth Grudge technique secret. Silk threads replacing burned flesh, forming a constantly burning substitute. A bizarre transformation. This eruption was more intense and prolonged than his fight against Kakuzu on the cliff. His body, woven together by the Earth Grudge technique's threads, used the forbidden technique, physical metamorphosis, to constantly regenerate flesh, only to have it squeezed out and incinerated. The dark chakra, gathered by the Zero Tail, maintained his dark awakening, continuously fueling the forbidden arts and physical transformation. Finally, fire release and chakra mode ignited and consumed everything. Uchiha, unable to see his current state, focused solely on the fiery pit. He activated subtitles, checking the details. He needed confirmation that Togo Hayato was dead. Clang! You bravely fought back against the evil cult leader, Togo Hayato, who sought to kill you. The counterattack was successful, the opponent is dead, and the reward is a critical hit. You gain a random skill from the opponent: immortality, time limit, incomplete, A+. The skill critically hits and solidifies into talent, immortality, incomplete, S. The number of layers of your heart steel has increased. Note, you are being watched by a creature caught between worlds. Heaven has automatically blocked this peak for you. Note, the immortal body is not completely immortal. You are on the verge of death. Please save yourself as soon as possible. Uchiha Ci sighed in relief after reading the panel. Killing Togo Hayato avenged his younger brother Haiden. The Akatsuki organization would lose a key player, impacting their tailed beast capture operation, albeit slightly, indirectly. It changed Shikamaru's lament and Asuma's tragic death. A small victory for the good guys. If it's for the greater good, then his death will be worthwhile. As for the warning that he was near death and needed immediate help. Yeah, right. He had no allies here. Orochimaru, eyeing him eagerly, wanted to dissect him. Who would save him? He was a goner. Finally. I've reached this point. Uchiha smirked, ready to close his eyes in contentment, but then, footsteps echoed from the cave entrance. A figure, spiky-haired like a hedgehog and carrying a massive scroll, stumbled in. Seeing the charred Uchiha Ci, his scarlet Sharingan spun wildly, fully evolving into a 3-tomo Sharingan. Uchiha Ci. Uchiha Seiichiro, in disbelief, burst into tears and collapsed. Trembling, he touched Uchiha Ci, roaring in grief and rage. How could this happen? Am I too late? Uchiha Ci raised an eyebrow, a piece of charcoal falling from his forehead, relief washed over him. It was an Uchiha, not Tsunade, Shizun, or Granny Chio, that was good enough. Seiichiro couldn't save him, but he could at least recover his body. Returning him like this would allow Tuzi to remember his smile and prevent Orochimaru from defiling his corpse. That was all he needed. With that thought, Uchiha Ci smiled tenderly at Seiichiro, raised his charred arm, and tried to pat his shoulder. But, as his palm reached out, it lost strength, touching Seichiro's brow, sliding down his cheek, and falling to the ground. Uchiha Ci lost consciousness completely and closed his eyes. Suddenly. 8 figures dropped in, standing around Uchiha Ci. The 8 Uchiha looked at the charred kid and scratched their heads, at a loss. Killing was their specialty, but saving someone? That was a different story. Captain, what do we do? One Uchiha asked Fugaku, frowning. The kid still has a faint pulse, we have to save him. Uchiha Fugaku rubbed his temples. I know, but we're in the middle of nowhere. Where can we find a medical ninja? Besides, this injury, yikes. Hearing Uchiha Fugaku's voice, Uchiha Seiichiro, kneeling and cradling Uchiha's body, suddenly looked up. The 3 dark tomos spun wildly in his bloodshot eyes. He stared at Uchiha Fugaku and demanded. Why? Why didn't you save him? You were here early, weren't you? You just watched a member of our clan die in front of you. Are you that cold-hearted? What is your power for if not to protect? Seiichiro shouted, eyes wide with anger. Ha! Answer me, our esteemed next-generation clan leader, Uchiha Fugaku. Under Seichiro's fierce questioning, Uchiha Fugaku opened his mouth to explain. But he fell silent. Of course, he had a reason. He wanted to see if Uchiha Ci had awakened forbidden eyes, but instead, the kid unlocked another forbidden power with his backhand. Anything he said now would sound weak and hollow, and at that moment, 8 Uchiha clan members, 8 pairs of scarlet Sharingan, stared at Uchiha Fugaku, questioning him, waiting for an explanation. Uchiha Fugaku clearly could have stopped the fight. Even just sending one Uchiha to control the Tang ninja with illusions would have been enough to prevent this tragedy, but he did nothing. Ha 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 ha. Looking at the silent Fugaku, Seiichiro laughed bitterly, his laughter filled with the pain of having his fingernails torn off. Tears streamed down his face, his eyes bloodshot, looking like a vengeful spirit. I finally understand, Uchiha Fugaku, why you become the strongest Uchiha, but the elders still hesitate to name you the next clan leader. You don't deserve it. Do you hear me? You don't deserve it. Seiichiro cursed angrily. If someone like you becomes the clan leader, it will be a disaster for the Uchiha. I'd rather serve that Tsutomu brat as clan leader than support you anymore. Compared to him, your will is as weak as crap. Uchiha Fugaku, you're a piece of crap. Crap. Seiichiro struggled to his feet and punched Uchiha Fugaku in the face. Boom. The punch landed squarely on his nose, deforming Fugaku's face and sending him sprawling. Uchiha Seiichiro jumped on top of him, furiously punching that seemingly fierce, but actually weak face. The other Uchiha immediately grabbed Seiichiro, saying sternly. Orochimaru is still around. This will be reported to the elders for settlement. Seiichiro, don't let outsiders make a mockery of our clan. What about Uchiha Ci? Uchiha Seiichiro shouted, bloodshot eyes blazing. What about him? Now you're concerned with saving this cold-blooded bastard. Who's going to save him? Huh? Tell me. Silence fell, all eyes turning to Uchiha Ci, burned to a crisp and lying still. The atmosphere was suffocating. Then, gentle footsteps broke the silence. The man with golden snake eyes, gleaming with amusement, stepped out of the shadows past the kunai stuck vertically in front of him. Torchlight illuminated his pale, handsome face, giving him an alluring look. Orochimaru smirked and said in a raspy voice. Since you can't save him, why not leave the child to me? The 8 Uchiha frowned. Even Fugaku got up, cautiously stood in front of the Uchiha, looked coldly at Orochimaru, and asked. What are you planning, Orochimaru? Stay away from that child. He. Unfazed by the 8 pairs of Sharingan, Orochimaru said calmly. The kid still has a breath of life left. I have a way to try to save him, but success is not guaranteed. Uchiha Fugaku frowned. What's the method? How likely are you to succeed? Orochimaru glanced at Uchiha Ci and said with a raspy laugh. It involves a power beyond the ordinary world. I dare not call it Heaven's cursed seal. As for the chances of saving him? Sorry, I haven't had any successful cases yet. In other words, the certainty of rescuing him is 10 deaths, no life. There is one more chapter, a little later. Chapter 93. Everyone shows their magical powers and medical miracles. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hear this. After that, every Uchiha went silent. They might not know what a Heaven's curse seal was, but they sure knew what 10 deaths and no life meant. But with the kid in this state, might as well throw a Hail Mary, right? There was still a chance, wasn't there? The thought sparked a flicker of hope in the eyes of all the Uchiha, even Fugaku. Orochimaru, taking in their reactions, smirked, thinking, these fools have swallowed the bait. Of course, it's not free, he said. I'll step in, but if the kid kicks the bucket, the body's mine. He paused, then added, you can keep the eyes, though. What? The Uchiha all shot him dagger eyes. Fugaku's face hardened. Impossible. Absolutely not. We Uchiha don't hand over our dead to the likes of you. But then, a pair of bloodshot eyes snapped open. Seiichiro Uchiha exploded, dead? That's Uchiha Ci. He's still alive. He rounded on Fugaku. Are you going to let him die again without lifting a finger? He glared at Fugaku, his voice dripping ice. I'm his teammate, and I make the call on this. Seiichiro, you. Fugaku frowned, his fists clenching, trying to reason with him. But the words "let him die" hung in the air, and he fell silent. Seiichiro didn't even look at him, his disappointment in Fugaku complete. He spun around, his Sharingan blazing red and cold as he locked onto Orochimaru. This is our shot, even if it's a long one, we're taking it. Orochimaru, save him. If he dies, you can have the body, but if you desecrate the remains. Seiichiro's threat was razor-sharp. I'll hunt you to the ends of the earth. As he finished, the other 7 Uchiha activated their Sharingan, their gazes fixed on Orochimaru. The message was clear, save him. But if you're planning anything shady, if you can't, don't blame us for putting you down like a rabid dog. Orochimaru raised an eyebrow, chuckling, unfazed by the threats. He brushed past the 8 Uchiha, stopping beside Uchiha Ci. Uchiha Ci was clinging to life by a thread. Little Zero Tail was constantly absorbing the extreme emotions caused by Uchiha Seiichiro opening his eyes, producing dark chakra and pouring it into Uchiha Ci's body. Huff, huff. The tired little guy opened his mask and stuck out his tongue. Uchiha Ci's body also used this chakra to activate the forbidden technique of physical transformation intermittently, matching the slow regeneration speed of the newly acquired immortal body. He was forced to breathe a sigh of relief, but the body's necrosis rate far exceeds this regeneration rate. Orochimaru stared at Uchiha Ci. Still breathing after such devastating injuries, his golden snake eyes gleamed with avarice. Too many secrets in this kid, too many things to dissect. Simple forbidden arts and physical transformation couldn't explain this. The heavenly curse seal. Oh, he had that all right. He hadn't cooked it up after finding Yugo. According to the original timeline, Kimimaro brought Yugo to Orochimaru. Kimimaro defected after the 4th Mizukage came to power and restarted the Blood Mist policy, that is, after the 3rd Ninja War. Orochimaru fished it from Kirigakure, but before he defected from Konoha, he'd already branded Mitarashi Enko with the heavenly curse seal, years before. She was the sole survivor of 10 test subjects. Right now, he'd only just taken Enko as a student, hadn't even laid a hand on her yet, which meant the current heavenly curse seal was exactly as he'd said, untested. So, Orochimaru never intended to save Uchiha Ci. He only wanted to trick the Uchiha into handing over the body. He sneered inwardly, knowing the kid wouldn't make it. If it weren't for the fact that the group of Uchiha in front of him changed from 5 to 9, and they were still 3 Magatama, it made him feel a little numb. He even wanted to grab it directly. Now, it's just a scam by placing a wreath on the body, crying crocodile tears when the rabbit dies and the fox sheds tears. Taking a deep breath, Orochimaru stood over Uchiha Ci, suddenly sinking his fangs into the few untouched patches of skin on his neck. As the fangs pierced flesh, dark lines spread across Uchiha Ci's body. A 3-tomo flower blossomed beneath his neck. The curse seal of heaven was a technique he'd improved after eyeing senjutsu from Ryuchi Cave. Its primary purpose was to flood the host with chakra. Even if the host's chakra ran dry, the seal would draw on endless reserves. Normally, a person couldn't handle that much natural energy, they'd be consumed, transformed into a mindless monster. But Uchiha Ci was no normal person. As the frigid energy flooded his system, his body, guided by instinct, channeled it into the workings of his forbidden arts and physical transformation. The forbidden technique, flesh transformation, is an outstanding one. It can even use violent dark chakra, let alone this kind of energy. As the power poured in, subtle changes rippled through Uchiha Ci's charred body. Thump. 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 The blackened heart began to beat again, shedding its calcified shell. Flesh and blood began to rebuild, slowly remaking him. The surface of the charred skin cracked, revealing the skinless red skin underneath, like a newborn snake trying to shed its old shedding. What's this? Orochimaru, now playing barefoot doctor, watched, his snake eyes widening in disbelief. Impossible, that he knew the effects of the heavenly curse seal. Even Danzo had grown tired of the endless failures, urging him to stop the hopeless experiments. Even he had felt his own doubts, but now, here, with this kid, it was working. Stunned by the medical miracle unfolding before him, cold sweat beaded on Orochimaru's forehead. No, how could it work now? He wanted the body, damn it, the body. Orochimaru didn't know if he should be happy, shocked, or devastated. The sneer froze on his face. The Uchiha watched in awe, their gazes turning respectful. See. Orochimaru, with his thick eyebrows and big eyes, mastered this amazing medical ninjutsu without a word. This is really a wonderful rejuvenation. Dr. Snake. We Uchiha will remember this kindness. And at that moment, Baizetsu, who had been watching underground, also saw some signs. Uchiha Ci's body seemed to be lacking a lot of chakra at the moment. Upon seeing this, he quietly opened up the soil, stretched out a white tentacle, and attached it to Uchiha Ci, planting the spore technique on him. Through hidden spores, chakra is continuously poured into Uchiha Ci's body. So, with the combined efforts of Seiichiro, Reibi, Orochimaru, and Baizetsu, a medical miracle in the ninja world. Born. Chapter 94. Seiichiro, thank you so much. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Days blurred together, a warm breeze brushed my face, mingling with the noisy street sounds, people talking, cars rattling, horses clattering. My eyelids felt itchy. I thought I was back in the real world. The moment a dump truck had turned me into a bloody smear on the pavement, unsure if I was alive or dead. The sounds were completely different from the cave, and I felt a jolt of energy. Had my buddy been resurrected? Resurrected to the moment before death? Was I really back? But it was weird. Why wasn't the options bar popping up this time? I was ready. If it appeared now, I'd grab that 500 million with the great desolate prisoner's heavenly finger without hesitation. With that thought, I quietly opened my eyes. I saw Seiichiro Uchiha sitting in front of me, a huge scroll strapped to his back, head bobbing, hair almost touching his collar. He mumbled in his sleep. Hey, I've got 3 Magatama too. Don't run, listen to your senior, you little brat. Hearing his voice, my face fell. No, what was going on? My brother had been burned to a crisp. Could he even be saved? How? Did they find some miracle worker? I looked around. We were in an attic with a wide view. A veranda facing the street was just outside the sliding wooden door. Sunlight streamed through the open window, warming the tatami and quilt where I lay. Peering through the window, past the oleanders and cacti on the veranda, that I saw a bustling street lined with shops. Merchants drove horse-drawn carriages. It was lively: izakaya, dango shops, youth hangouts, grocery stores, seafood restaurants, bathhouses. I realized that I wasn't dead, and this was the destination the elder Setsuna Uchiha had assigned our team, located between three major countries, the capital of the Land of Rain, Tangyen City. Seiichiro had done his job well, exceeding expectations in bringing me back from the evil god cult. Still, I was confused. How had he pulled it off? With those injuries, even Tsunade, the best medic nin in the ninja world, would have said I was a goner. The sound of me getting up woke Seiichiro. Sei, you're awake. How are you feeling? He rushed over, eager to help. I scooted back, expressionless. What was with this guy? Why was he so enthusiastic? We'd barely exchanged 20 words before, right? I preferred the unruly Seiichiro who always wanted to lecture the juniors. Seiichiro-senpai. I frowned, gesturing around the room. What's going on? Oh, this place. Seiichiro said. This is the Uchiha clan's temporary base in Yuyen City. It used to belong to the Ninja Union, but Fugaku bought it. It looks like an izakaya, but it's actually the largest ninja shop in Yuyen City and the entrance to the underground black market. That I raised an eyebrow. I knew the Uchiha were rich and arrogant, but I was still surprised that Fugaku had bought a business like this so casually. This neutral business was tied to the underground black market that only ninjas and merchants could access. It wasn't about what the store sold. The key was the information from everyone who came and went. That was the real value. The Uchiha's relationship with the Ninja Union was more complicated than it seemed in the books. I frowned and asked the important question. How long was I out? What happened? 3 days. Thanks to Lord Orochimaru. He's truly one of Konoha's Sannin, a master of rejuvenation. That I was stunned. Wait, Orochimaru saved me. Orochimaru, the part-time field medic. Wasn't Tsunade supposed to be the Sannin's healer? What was going on? Seiichiro perked up. He launched into a rambling, exaggerated story, bragging about his awesome deeds of 3 days ago. From his mostly true, somewhat exaggerated account, I pieced together what had happened. But, as expected, I still didn't understand. Fugaku and the 7 Uchihas watching him, the minions scolding the young clan leader, the Chunin threatening Orochimaru, the famous Sannin, Orochimaru secretly hiding a super awesome medical ninjutsu. What? This was some ridiculous fanfiction plot. I opened the panel, expressionless, and checked the subtitles. This thing didn't lie, and there it was. Orochimaru felt you were going to die and wanted to analyze your body for science. Orochimaru used taijutsu on you and bit you. You have mastered Heaven's Curse Seal, incomplete, extremely dangerous. I blinked, and it all clicked. I looked at Seiichiro, shocked. Damn, he was telling the truth. Seiichiro seemed to get a jolt of electricity. He felt amazing, from his toes to his head. He coughed, excited. Ahem, that's what happened. Then, he changed his expression, raised his chin, looked down his nose at me, and scoffed. So, we're even for you saving my life. His sudden Uchiha arrogance almost knocked me out. I could only mutter, face twisted. Damn it, what a pain. What did you say? He hadn't heard me. Nothing. I stared at him, teeth trembling. I mean, thank you so much, Seiichiro-senpai. Humph, don't think I'm going to help you just because you said that. He turned away, hiding a smile. His tone remained cold. Don't expect me to help you just because you said that. I sighed, despairing. What now? After this, what next? Immortal body plus 0 tail larvae plus dark chakra plus curse seal of the sky plus forbidden technique, physical transformation. Too much. It was too much. I couldn't take it. Even if I stood still and let an ordinary Jonin-level ninja slash at me, I wouldn't die, right? Could I even fake my death? Seiichiro suddenly stood up, opened the wooden door, and frowned. Since you're awake, come with me. We need you for something. Before he could finish, a loud wail echoed through the open doorway. You pink-eyed freaks can just kill me. What's the point of tying me up and starving me? Ah. 3 days. It's been 3 whole days. Uchiha, when are you going to wake up, damn it? I'm starving. Chapter 95 War breaks out, Orochimaru recruits disciples. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Listen up. Uchiha's eyebrows shot up. He recognized his little brother Haiden's voice, but something was off. Wasn't Haiden supposed to be having lunch with Togo Hayato, 6 feet under? Before Uchiha could really process that, Seiichiro yanked open the wooden door, a vein throbbing on his forehead. Why does this kid keep gnawing through his gag? The racket coming from the opposite room was making Seiichiro see red. He threw open the opposite door, pointed at the figure tied to a stake in the center, and said to Uchiha. Exhibit A. This kid's a chatterbox. Every day he's screaming about you being his evil god brother, but the info we squeezed out of those soup country ninja. Turns out he was training under that jonin, Togo Hayato, the guy you fought. Hayato's tied to that Kumo ambush from before. We were just going to put him down. But he's got this weird body, and there's some kind of connection to you. So, you call the shots. Seiichiro scowled at Haiden on the stake. Uchiha got the picture. Togo Hayato wanted to torture Haiden by offing everyone he cared about, then revealing their master-student thing, driving Haiden into total despair, past the point of death, then he'd sacrifice Haiden for true immortality. In the original timeline, that sacrifice was supposed to get interrupted by Shinnon and Orochimaru. Hayato would fail, Haiden would survive by dumb luck but go completely nuts, but now, since he'd already turned Togo Hayato into dust, the reward for the ritual probably went to the only one still alive, but Heavenly Pain blocked that creepy gift. The immortal body ended up with Haiden anyway, reviving him and giving him the immortal body he was supposed to have. All things considered, not bad. Uchiha stroked his chin, chuckling. Hearing the commotion, Haiden started wriggling on the stake. Howling. Hey. Hello. Anybody out there? Seriously, what are you gonna do to me? Can I at least get a freaking heads up? This is freaking me out. Seiichiro looked back at Uchiha, his eyes cold. So. What do we do with him? Uchiha looked at Haiden squirming like a worm, frowned, and said. Kill him. This messed up connection was just too risky, it was messing with his plans to make money and commit insurance fraud. Without a word, Seiichiro drew his long knife and stepped forward. Seeing he was serious, Uchiha sighed and stopped him. Forget it. Let's at least feed him first. We'll take him back to soup country later. I don't really want to see him right now. Seiichiro nodded, then grabbed the gag from the floor and shoved it back in Haiden's mouth. He shut the door and led Uchiha downstairs to a private room. Once they were seated, Seiichiro turned serious. Okay, second thing. While you were out of it for 3 days, the war kicked off. Uchiha raised an eyebrow. Now this was good news, Seiichiro went on. 2 days ago, Sand Village ended their beef with Mist and officially declared war on Leaf. Big Ninja War going down in the Land of Rain. The third Ninja War is officially on. Stone and Cloud are getting ready to jump in too. Things are a mess in Sky and Grass. Uchiha took a breath. For Cloud, the Blood Pond clan in Hell Valley is a major bargaining chip. And wasn't our original mission to head to Hell Valley and help our people there? Uchiha suppressed his excitement and put on a righteous face. What are we waiting for? Let's get to Hell Valley, ASAP. Hell Valley had been Uchiha's goal from the start. Now it was in the middle of a three-way mess with Cloud, Blood Pond, and Uchiha, and attracting heavy hitters from everywhere, the two-tailed beast, Cloud Village, and the Blood Pond clan, who could really mess with his Sharingan. Plus, there was Oya Castle Flame, kaleidoscope-level Blood Dragon Eyes, Blood Dragon Gundam, Human Bombs, the ultimate Genjutsu. Put it all together and Uchiha couldn't even imagine how strong he was. And once he got there, he wouldn't need any BS excuses for scamming insurance, opposing sides, opposing goals. All he had to do was fight. fight for everything he had. But then, Seiichiro shook his head. Nah. They don't need us in Hell Valley right now. Elder Uchiha Setsuna contacted the clan 3 days ago and went to Hell Valley to take charge. Fugaku's team that left the village on a mission are there as well. Cloud's ambush failed to kill the elder. Their plan fell apart. Things have calmed down, for now. What? Uchiha slammed the table and stood up, glaring at Seiichiro. Cloud Village just failed once and they backed down. Keep fighting, damn it. If he couldn't fight, why even bother coming to Soup Country? Seiichiro just rolled his eyes. Even after all this, he still couldn't get his head around Uchiha's bloodlust. Calm down. It's just temporary because Cloud has moved into Sky Country. They're putting things here on hold. Seiichiro analyzed. As long as Cloud still wants the blood pool, we can't avoid this battle. Uchiha frowned and sat down. Seiichiro had a point. With the ninja war starting, Cloud was going to try to grab Fire Country for sure, rather than some blood pool. In the original timeline, Cloud was supposed to invade Fire Country from Sky Country. That's where Namikaze Minato and the Cloud AB brothers first faced off, and Yellow Flash became a legend, but he was still annoyed. He looked up at Seiichiro. So nothing's happening at all in Hell Valley. Seiichiro rolled his eyes. You really want to know what's going on over there? Uchiha frowned. What was going on? Oya Castle Flame was starting his move. His wife was already dead by now, so he should be slaughtering the Blood Pond clan. Then it hit Uchiha, because he showed up, everything had changed. Butterfly effect. The Blood Pond clan was protected by the Uchiha. If Oyajoan wanted to kill them all and leave, he'd have to get past the Uchiha defense, but Elder Setsuna didn't die. He successfully reinforced Hell Valley's defenses, making Cloud Village think twice. Without Cloud tying up the Uchiha, Oyajoan couldn't escape even if he killed everyone. Uchiha knew that the kaleidoscope was the gateway to shadow-level power. He knew that Oya Castle Flame was strong, really strong, but Oya Qingyan himself didn't know that, facing the Uchiha, who had kept the Blood Pond clan down for 100 years, Oya Son was probably feeling unsure, so, he was biding his time. Uchiha took a deep breath. Like the clouds had parted, all he had to do was wait. Seiichiro knocked on the table to snap Uchiha out of it, then smiled. And one more thing. Uchiha Ci. After some discussion, we agreed to the request in the third Hokage's letter. Now, you're not just a family ninja of the Uchiha clan. Seiichiro pulled over a tray. It held a Leaf Village forehead protector and a ninja certificate. Congrats. You're now a disciple of the Sannin. Uchiha was stunned. He stared at Seiichiro, lost for words. What the heck was going on? Disciple of the Sannin? Who picked him? Could his devastating good looks have gotten back to Leaf and Tsunadeheim decided she had to have him? What's the story? Seiichiro grinned. I didn't believe it at first. But it's true, just like Shursui said, you really will become a bridge between the family and the village. Then he grinned like an auntie. Lord Orochimaru is such a great guy. He worked like crazy to save you 3 days ago, and barely managed to get away, all pale-faced. Then, the very next day, he showed up with a knife and root to talk Fugaku into making you his apprentice. He said he was impressed by your potential. Uchiha was speechless. Chapter 96, Will you save the nation or break up with him? You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was noon. Uchiha stepped out of the izakaya, the warm sun on his face. He walked down the quiet alley, passing hidden ninjas in bamboo hats on their missions, emerging onto the bustling streets of Tangyen City. The lively sounds and peaceful atmosphere felt like another world entirely. One moment he was fighting for his life in the brutal ninja war, the next, he was thrown into the mundane life of a peaceful city. Now he had 2 new things in his pocket, a Konoha forehead protector and a ninja ID card, but this ID was slightly different. Name, Uchiha Ci, rank, Chunin, ninja number, 009888, missions completed, 1S rank, 855 D rank. Apparently, Uchiha had inexplicably resigned from a promotion to become a Chunin, plus, he suddenly had credit for an S rank mission. Konoha had reclassified the Uchiha clan's Hell Valley rescue mission as a village mission. This was no accident. Before Namikaze Minato scared everyone with his yellow flash, Orochimaru was Sarutobi Hiruzen's chosen successor, most likely to become the fourth Hokage. Orochimaru wanted an Uchiha as his disciple, and during this sensitive time of the ninja war, even if Orochimaru and Uchiha both agreed, the third Hokage and the elders, especially Danzo with his hatred for the Uchiha clan, wouldn't easily allow it. Both sides must have paid a hefty price. Uchiha didn't know what Orochimaru had given up, but he suspected it was the lucrative mission from the Land of Lightning's daimyo that the Uchiha clan had taken on, worth tens of millions of taels a year. The thought gave Uchiha Ci a headache. Orochimaru was after his body, but the Uchiha clan seemed to value him too much to let Orochimaru just snatch him, so Orochimaru was trying a roundabout approach. The Uchiha, misinterpreting Orochimaru's actions of rescuing him and then offering discipleship, thought Orochimaru was showing goodwill. So, they'd spent a fortune getting him pushed into the Hokage lineage. This double misunderstanding had led to this insane situation. With the Uchiha clan and root backing him, would Orochimaru still defect? Would Namikaze Minato still become the fourth Hokage? Conversely, if Orochimaru hadn't defected, would the Uchiha have staged a coup with Orochimaru's support? What a mess. Uchiha thought that he really didn't want to save Uchiha. He only wanted to deceive them. Why was the plot going so off the rails? He'd somehow become responsible for the clan's survival, but only he knew the truth. Orochimaru and the Uchiha thought they were winning and were probably patting themselves on the back. The pressure was all on Uchiha Ci. He now faced a serious choice, to save them or not to save them. If he wanted to save the Uchiha, he had to maintain his status as a Sannin disciple, watch out for his dear teacher suddenly trying to experiment on him, get Orochimaru back on the right track from his twisted scientific pursuits, help him run for fourth Hokage, quell the infighting within the clan, ditch Danzo, and avoid being stabbed in the back by his own clan members. Damn, that's a lot of trouble. Uchiha Ci decisively chose option 2. He was better off continuing to fake it and protect himself. Did any of this have to do with a Chunin who just wanted to die? The thought refreshed him, and he could suddenly see a clear path forward. He figured he'd be stabbed in the back by Orochimaru soon enough. When the time came, he'd find the right opportunity and settle the score. Wouldn't it be amazing to get a big payoff? Uchiha Ci smiled, enjoying a moment of peace after the battle as he walked through the bustling city. Before he left, he'd borrowed 100,000 taels from Seiichiro. This wasn't Konoha anymore. No annoying Byakugan or dogs, that he could visit the hot springs without using a transformation technique. Meanwhile, on the largest street in Tangyen City's Kabukicho district, stood a 6-story watchtower. Terumi Mei leaned against the doorframe, lazily stretching. The girl's figure caught the sunlight, drawing the eyes of passers-by. 3 days ago, she had brought Ghost Lamp Mangetsu to the location where Yagura was last seen. It was here, on Kabukicho Street, at the largest hot spring Okiya in the land of hot water. After Ghost Lamp Mangetsu entered the room to talk to Yagura, a loud argument had erupted. For 3 days, nobody had come out. If the meals hadn't been eaten every day, Terumi Mei would have thought Yagura and Ghost Lamp Mangetsu had starved to death inside. Terumi Mei wanted to help with Mizuki's problems, but the arguments between the two were too complicated for her to fully understand. She could only grasp the general idea. Their disagreement came from when Kido Mangetsu mentioned, kill the daimyo and the Sandai Mizuki together. Lord Yagura would immediately reply and angrily say, "Are you crazy? Who pays to kill a big name? Are you still your Ghost Lantern family?" The two then launched into a debate, from border passes to what a new political system should look like. Nobody could convince the other. Terumi Mei could tell that Kido Mangetsu's ideas were based on Uchiha's rebellious words. She couldn't help but think of that young man. Terumi Mei rested her cheeks on her hands, gazing aimlessly. She blushed, then took a deep breath, almost melting. What happened to him after leaving the evil god cult? Was he still alive? Did he rescue Haiden? Where was he now? Suddenly, Terumi Mei blinked. She thought she saw Uchiha Ci in front of her. She quickly patted her face and rubbed her eyes. Terumi Mei, you can't keep daydreaming, she told herself. You want to save the mist, and you can't spend all day thinking about guys from other villages. But she missed him. It was like roasting chestnuts without the chestnuts. I'll miss him up to 10 times a day. However, after rubbing her eyes, the young man's figure didn't disappear. In fact, it became clearer. Terumi Mei was stunned and looked downstairs. She saw a sneaky young man holding 100,000 taels, nervously wandering in front of the Uchiha door, sweat dripping from his forehead. He looked around nervously, swallowing hard. Then, he stretched his hand out to a Maiko standing on the street, smoothed his hair, and smiled what he thought was a handsome smile. Hi. Terumi Mei's pupils constricted. Uchiha Ci. Chapter 97. I want to negotiate a big deal of 100,000 taels. Terumi Mei, no, you don't. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uchiha had to admit, he was a mess. Up until now, he hadn't even dipped a toe in the water. Just a glance at the red light district sent his pulse racing and his cheeks burning. He'd always dreamed of tasting that exotic flower. Today was the day. It was finally happening. Taking a deep breath, Uchiha focused on the figure before him, a vision in high-heeled sandals and a meticulously crafted kimono. Her waist was impossibly slender, her curves like ripe peaches. A Maiko, just her silhouette was enough to make a guy want to get handsy. Uchiha swallowed, smoothed his hair, and plastered on a smile. He raised a hand in what he hoped was a suave greeting. Hey there. The woman turned, a surprised look on her face. Whoa, kiddo, you alright? Uchiha choked. One thought blazed in his mind, don't underestimate me, I'm not a kid. He completely blanked on what he was going to say next. Well, it's just. He stammered, unable to get the words out. Disgusted with himself, Uchiha mentally kicked his own butt. Get it together, Uchiha. Grow a pair. Just tell her. I've got 100,000 tael deal to discuss. Pumping himself up, Uchiha squared his shoulders and lifted his chin, only to be confronted by a pair of, well, wow. His breath hitched, his face flamed, and the words died in his throat. Cough, cough, cough. Hey, you okay, little dude? Actually. I've got a business proposal. Worth 100,000 tael. Uchiha gulped and held up the bills with trembling hands, but then, a fragrant breeze wafted by, and a delicate hand snatched the money right out of his grasp. A clear, cool voice cut through the air. No, he doesn't. The familiar voice sent a jolt of fear through Uchiha. He spun around, and there she was, Terumi Mei, dropping from the sky like a predator guarding its kill, her expression icy. The air seemed to thicken. Oh crap, it's a ninja. The Maiko's blood ran cold. These ninjas are getting wilder by the day. Caught in the act this young. Brutal, she bowed deeply to Mei Terumi, stammering, I'm so sorry, ninja-sama. I don't know this boy. In her haste to bow, the front of her kimono gaped open, revealing a breathtaking view. Uchiha's eyes nearly popped out of his head. The peaks trembled slightly, mirroring his own racing heart. Uchiha felt his breath catch, a sudden rush of heat prickling his nose. His head felt like it was on puppet strings. Help. My neck's frozen. I can't move it. Thwack. Terumi Mei delivered a sharp chop to his forehead. Her smile strained, transforming into a ninja world doctor. She forcefully twisted Uchiha's head around to face her. All right, get out of here. Terumi Mei sourly compared their assets and felt a cold wind blowing through her heart, which made her feel chilled. Her tone was anything but all right. The Maiko didn't need to be told twice. She scurried back inside the bathhouse. Finally, she pulled out a sign and posted it on the door. This establishment is for adults only. No one under 18 allowed. The sign slammed home the point. Uchiha felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. It was like a sad song was playing just for him. Terumi Mei turned to face him. Enjoying the view? She stared him down, a dangerous glint in her usually clear eyes. Uchiha shivered involuntarily. He shook his head emphatically. Nope. Not one bit. Then, he puffed out his chest with mock disdain. Vulgar displays, the lot of them. Only then did Terumi Mei relax her grip, twirling the 100,000 tael bill in her fingers. She turned her gaze on Uchiha, and her green eyes sparkled. "What were you planning to do with all this?" Uchiha chuckled nervously, reaching out to casually pluck the bill from Terumi Mei's hand, as if nothing had happened. He'd just wait for his chance to sneak back and finish what he started. "Wait, something's off." Uchiha carefully examined Terumi Mei's face. She was smiling, a mischievous glint danced in her eyes, the spring breeze lifted fallen cherry blossom petals, swirling them behind her like a pink halo, the warm spring sunshine, the rising steam from the bathhouse, and the girl's auburn hair dancing in the wind, the noisy streets, the clatter of carts, the rhythmic pounding from the mochi shop, and the warm breath of the girl so close to him. Everything faded into the background. The only sound he could hear was the sudden, frantic drumming of his own heart. Uchiha was momentarily stunned, then, a clumsy sentence blurted out before he could stop it. I was thinking of getting you some cherry blossom cakes. I still want to." A slender finger gently touched his lips. Terumi Mei's lips curved into a smile, like a mischievous sprite in the spring breeze. She gracefully took his hand, pulling him back to reality. "No need to treat me. I'm loaded. Let's go shopping. Anything you want, I'll buy it for you." Uchiha was like a ragdoll, being tossed and turned by fate, his brain completely short-circuited. All he could do was nod dumbly as the girl led him away, into the spring sunshine, across town. At the door of the izakaya, Uchiha Seiichiro had just booted Haydn out onto the street. He tossed him 2 stale buns for good measure. Seiichiro crossed his arms, glaring down at the kid. "Get lost. Go back to the hidden hot water village where you belong." Haydn, a mix of rage and humiliation, snatched up the rock-hard buns and shoved them into his pockets. Then, he spat out a curse. "You're gonna regret this. When Uchiha Ci finds out you treated me like this, he's gonna make you pay." Seiichiro sneered. "Oh, you think you're on that level with him? Your big brother doesn't want anything to do with you. Do yourself a favor and disappear. Otherwise, I might just have to help you along." Seiichiro rested his hand on the hilt of his sword, looking every bit the bully. Haydn looked shocked. "What did you say?" "He said he doesn't want to see me." He fought back tears, wiping at his eyes. Seiichiro said nothing, and his hand on his sword got tighter, and he started to look like he might hurt him. Haydn's heart skipped a beat. Scrambling to his feet, he bolted down the alley. Not until he was 2 blocks away did he stop, pulling out one of the hard buns and taking a savage bite. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. How can he treat me like this after everything I've risked for him? This can't be happening. This is impossible. Haydn sat slumped in a corner, chewing on the dry bread, his face twisted with fury. Just then, he heard a familiar voice nearby, sounding awkward and hesitant. I was thinking of getting you some cherry blossom cakes. I still want to." Haydn looked up, his anger fading into disbelief. Chapter 98 Uninvited Guests, A Huge Water Burial. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the land of fire, outside the bar, after shooing Haydn away, Uchiha Seiichiro shook his head and looked up at the clear blue sky, squinting slightly. "The package from the clan should be here any minute." As head of the police force, Uchiha Fugaku could only leave the village after accepting a mission from Konoha. He'd wrap things up with Yu Yancheng and Uchiha Ci, then led his team to the land of water for a more dangerous assignment. Kinjialang would handle all matters related to Tang Yancheng. Uchiha's decision to become a student of one of the Sannin was a big deal in the clan. Along with the forehead protector and ID, there should be a Konoha Chunin vest and a full set of gear. But the minute the package was handed over to Elder Uchiha, he supposedly tossed the Chunin vest aside, disgusted. Saying it was too ugly, not befitting an Uchiha, they were rushing a tailor-made combat uniform for Uchiha, something worthy of the Uchiha name. Because Uchiha Ci was involved, Seiichiro was especially interested. This was the package he was waiting for. Just then, a piercing eagle cry echoed from above. A soaring eagle descended from the sky. Uchiha Seichiro's eyes lit up. He quickly raised his arm, and the hawk landed. He took a palm-sized scroll from the pouch on the hawk's back. These scrolls were valuable, with tons of storage space. The scroll Uchiha Ci used to store his ninja tools was top-of-the-line stuff in the ninja world. This scroll would contain the real reward from the clan. Looking at the scroll, Seiichiro was curious. What did these high-priced combat clothes look like? How awesome could they be? Maybe he, the old man, could borrow them for a spin first. Seichiro's breathing quickened. He clutched the scroll, about to open it, but a cold voice cut through the air. You're not worthy to see what's inside. He looked up sharply, and saw 4 ninjas in Konoha ANBU uniforms approaching. The leader wore a black cloak and sunglasses, with a purple tattoo on his right cheek. His voice was icy as he ordered Seiichiro. Where's Uchiha Ci? Take me to him. Seichiro's pupils shrank. He recognized them instantly. These were root members. Unlike Konoha ANBU masks, which mostly depicted animals, the Root's mask designs were more varied, and the guy in sunglasses, he'd heard things, a captain-level figure, on par with Orochimaru, Aburame Ryoma. Meanwhile, on the bustling streets of Yuno country, Uchiha snapped back to reality, realizing Terumi Mei had pulled him through the crowded streets, ducked into a corner, down an alley, and into a simple, quiet shop. The little shop stood in a hazy mist, with white walls and drooping torii-style eaves. It looked peaceful and inviting. Steam billowed from the steamer in front, carrying the sweet scent of cherry blossoms. The display cases held all kinds of snacks and fruits, front and center. Sakura mochi, only available this time of year, cherry pink outer shells wrapped around red bean filling, all wrapped in salted leaves shaped into cylinders, folded bamboo, little dumplings. Welcome, you too. The shop owner, a man near 60, bowed slightly, smiling politely. Uchiha Ci's eyes popped at the sight of the cherry cakes, shocked by the price. Were these things studded with diamonds? 100,000 taels each? Seriously? He looked at the owner, wanting to ask if he could get a discount for his wife or something. This tiny thing could buy 1,053 bowls of Ichiraku ramen. Terumi Mei turned back to him. What's wrong? Don't worry, the snacks here are amazing. Supposedly, they're offered to the daimyo every year. They're a Yuyan city specialty. Uchiha Ci looked at the snacks. He knew they had to be better than those meatballs sold on the roadside for 20 taels a pop. But could he really admit he was too broke to afford one cake? So, he just nodded awkwardly, laughed nervously, and asked, So, Terumi Mei, which one do you want? Terumi Mei squatted down, cupping her cheeks, and started browsing the cases. She pointed to a particularly fancy cherry cake, looking at Uchiha Ci, her eyes sparkling. Hey, Uchiha Ci, I want this one. Uchiha's heart sank. He reached for 100,000 taels of bills and slapped them on the counter. Sure, buy it. Terumi Mei smiled, then shook her head, pulled out her small wallet, took out a passbook, and pointed to Uchiha Ci, telling the owner. Boss, pack all these up. I want all of it and give it to him. The owner's jaw dropped. He could barely contain his glee, immediately wrapping all the cherry cakes and stuffing them into Uchiha's hands. Uchiha Ci was stunned, looking at Terumi Mei. He realized the gap between rich and poor in the ninja world was huge. Also, what kind of sugar mama was she, handing over the reward for an S-rank mission so casually? Clutching a bag of cherry cakes, Uchiha Ci walked beside Terumi Mei, who was already munching on one like a little hamster. Then, Terumi Mei spoke softly, pointedly. Uchiha Ci. Next time, don't waste your hard-earned money on stuff like that. Treat yourself. Eat something good, okay? She turned, showing Uchiha the empty wrapper. Then, blushing, she stared at the big bag of cherry cakes in his hand and whispered. I still want to eat. Uchiha Ci, sensing the delicate atmosphere, blushed too. Alarm bells rang in his head. What was with that look? What was she saying? Did she want him to feed her? Uchiha Ci's eyes widened. He raised a piece of cherry cake and fed it to Terumi Mei. Terumi Mei was shocked. She blinked, gasping, her green eyes trembling, her small white ears flushing red. She just wanted Uchiha to give her a piece. But he was being so bold, feeding her directly. Were they already that close? This was too fast. Uchiha Ci saw Terumi Mei's face turn red as a teapot. He realized he'd jumped the gun. But it was too late to back out now. If he chickened out now, it would be unmanly. And she didn't seem to be refusing. Uchiha took a breath. His heart pounded, but then, Haydn, who'd been silently following them, munching on dry bread, curious about what his teammates were up to, seeing this scene, he froze, his bread clattering to the ground, bang. The sharp sound startled them. They turned like frightened birds. Uchiha Ci saw Haydn, glaring at them, about to say something about the cherry cake, and behind Haydn, on the rooftops of the alleyway, countless ninjas in sansui masks and kirigakure uniforms stood ready. They looked at the 6-story building in the middle of the street, forming hand seals. A cold voice broke the illusion of peace. Water release, giant water burst jutsu. Uchiha Ci's pupils shrank. His Sharingan flared to life. We don't have enough time, there will be another chapter later, I will post it first and then revise it. Chapter 99. The capital city was flooded, and the whole country was wailing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The streets and alleys swarmed with hidden mist ninja. It was like the entire organization had poured out of the village, surrounding the 6-story building in the center of town. Crap! Seeing the hand seals being formed, Uchiha recognized them instantly. It was the water release, great exploding water wave, executed by multiple chasing ninja. This technique covered a massive area, enough to create a small ocean. The initial water pressure alone could crush steel. Once fully unleashed, half of Tangyen City would be underwater. And the three of them were right in the path of the initial, most powerful surge. Uchiha's face hardened. He swiftly grabbed 4 kunai from the ninja tool pouch at Terumi Mei's waist, hooking his index finger. He generated warming silk thread from his wrist, wrapped it around the kunai hilts, and flung them, embedding them in the top of a nearby building. Then, he scooped up Mei Terumi, spun around, and leaped into the air, pulling the taut silk thread to swing them high. He even remembered to shout to his little brother. Haydn, play dead where you are. Stay quiet. Haydn, about to retort, saw Uchiha execute the maneuver, flying away with a beauty in his arms. He was stunned. I was just gonna ask you to chill, he thought. You don't need to be so scared, right? Then, dozens of water jets rained down behind Haydn, and tons of water crashed onto the ground, instantly demolishing the 6-story building. Immediately after, a massive volume of water rose into a tsunami over 30 feet high. The wave surged wildly, crashing down. Suddenly, an overwhelming shadow filled Haydn's vision. He turned, his expression shifting from surprise to shock to sheer terror. Boom! The wave hit, and Tangyen City fell silent. The spray stung my face, icy cold. The silence was shattered by a dark figure leaping from the rubble, a ninja whose blood ran hot, bearing a mission, walking in shadows, indulging in hatred, running in the sun's righteousness, fighting each other's paths of tolerance. For a moment, the city echoed with the pained screams of injured civilians, accompanied by the cries. The clang of kunai marked the start of the Third Shinobi World War. Uchiha Ci pulled the thread, swung around, and dodged the approaching tsunami. He continuously launched kunai and shuriken, lodging them in high spots, using the silk thread to loop and leap onward. Terumi Mei didn't even bother to complain about Uchiha swiping her ninja tools. She'd immediately realized the gravity of the situation, turned, and looked at the collapsed building in the distance over the towering wave. She exclaimed in shock. How could the third Mizukage know Yagura's location? Only I and Kido Mengetsu knew. But I've been watching Ghost Lantern Full Moon the whole time, making sure he's sealed. He should be fine. If all impossibilities are eliminated, then the most unlikely possibility is the truth. Terumi Mei was stunned. She muttered. Could I have been compromised? In a sense, Terumi Mei was right. Hearing this, Uchiha was silent, recalling the inexplicable subtitles in the castle last time. The third Mizukage expresses contempt for you. Now it seemed that it was not a bug in the talent. The third Mizukage of Kirigakure was at the scene that day, following Kido Mengetsu. Perhaps he had long been aware of Gue Deng Man Yu's disobedient heart and wanted to take advantage of her plan. Uchiha Ci couldn't be sure. At that moment, he threw away Terumi Mei's ninja tool bag. he just focused on maneuvering around the waves with Terumi Mei, pulling the silk thread, jumping high, and landing on the roof of a 4-story building. He hoped this building, which was not directly in the path of the attack, would survive the blast. Landing on the roof, Uchiha surveyed the scene. The once lively capital of Yuno country was now filled with mourning. This sudden attack shattered the dreams of the people of Yuno country's hot springs, buildings collapsed, and the city was submerged. Terrified civilians huddled on every visible rooftop. A woman sat on a roof, sobbing with her child in her arms. A businessman watched his assets vanish. A middle-aged man, numb with shock, had lost his loved ones. Countless bodies bobbed in the surging water. A corpse that looked familiar floated past Uchiha. It was the fruit shop owner who had just made a killing off Terumi Mei. Moments ago, he was probably counting his money with a smile, watching the young couple's budding romance. He supported his old waist and felt that being young is beautiful. Now, half of his body was crushed by a collapsed wall, his face frozen in terror. He died. With his eyes wide open, he never even knew why he died. Uchiha Ci's face darkened. Hiss. He took a deep breath, suppressing the anger at the injustice and tragedy unfolding before him and being powerless to stop it. He fought the urge to find the culprit and demand answers. He wrestled with the desire to change everything. He kept reminding himself that Uchiha had not expected all of this. The real side of this world is so cruel. In this world, power reigns supreme, and you, Uchiha Ci, are just a passerby. Sigh. Uchiha shook his head, exhaled, and expressionlessly began pulling tiles from the roof under his feet. He tied them together with warming earth threads and threw them to survivors struggling in the water. As he passed in front of him, pull them to the water's edge. Terumi Mei helped rescue 2 of them, then frowned and said, "Ci, we need to leave. Those chase ninja are after Lord Yagura. This place will soon be a battlefield." She frowned, worry etched on her face. The 3rd Mizukage might even show up. Uchiha frowned slightly, but didn't respond. He narrowed his eyes. While saving people, he scanned the distance with his Sharingan. There, 2 figures were running on the turbulent water as if it were solid ground, speeding towards them. One had green hair and purple eyes, with a suture-like scar under his left eye. He was shorter than Uchiha, had a baby face, and carried a long, hook-shaped staff with a green, flower-like decoration at the top. It was Goju Yagura, the future 4th Mizukage. The other had white hair, purple eyes, an emotionless face, and carried a wide, bandage-wrapped ninja sword. It was Kido Mangetsu, Kirigakure's prodigy, who Uchiha had recently fought. Is that them? Terumi Mei saw the approaching figures. A flash of surprise crossed her face before she sighed in relief. Thankfully, they're safe. However, as Terumi Mei spoke in surprise, Uchiha silently stood. He opened his shirt, unbuttoning it to his abdomen. Click on the Ouroboros pattern transformed into 0 tail. His eyes turned cold. Chapter 101 Against 2, You Know Too Much. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The arrival of Goju Yagura and Ghostlight Full Moon could be a good thing for Mime, but for Uchiha Ci? Well, that seemed beneficial to him too. Uchiha Ci knew immediately that these 2 wouldn't easily let him go, knowing Kirigakure's secrets, especially now that Kido Mangetsu had thrown his lot in with Yagura. Without realizing the 3rd Mizukage was already aware, Yagura probably figured this move would be the decisive blow, but now an Uchiha and a Konoha ninja knew, instantly making them enemies with irreconcilable differences. Most people in this situation would want to sprout extra legs and run, but Uchiha Ci? Running wasn't even on his mind. Suddenly, 2 black dots grew larger, riding the waves to land on the rooftop. Goju Yagura looked serious, forming a seal with one hand. He used water sensing to scan the area, locating Terumi Mei. Seeing she was okay, he visibly relaxed. For Yagura, determined to change Kirigakure, Terumi Mei's support, along with her clan and the elders behind her, was crucial. He then spotted Uchiha Ci and the silk thread in his hand. He confirmed the marks on the pavilions he'd seen earlier were made by the kid. This seemed to be a specialized silk thread technique, reminiscent of the unbearable organization he'd encountered in the land of Forest. Yagura assumed he was an ally from that small country, someone Terumi Mei had met. He gave a friendly smile and asked in a cheerful, gentlemanly manner. You must be the one who saved Mei Terumi, right? Uchiha raised an eyebrow, surprised he didn't seem to recognize him. He simply grunted, his gaze shifting to Ghost Light Full Moon. Yagura nodded, registering Uchiha's face, and then smiled. Things are pretty urgent. We need to leave now. If you get the chance, come visit Kirigakure. I'll be sure to thank you properly. Turning to Terumi Mei, he was about to wave her over when Ghost Man Yu grabbed Yagura's shoulder, frowning. Hold up, Yagura. Huh? What's wrong? Yagura asked, confused. Ghost Light Man Yu glared at Uchiha Ci. That kid's an Uchiha ninja. Uchiha? Yagura frowned, looking at the quietly standing Uchiha. He considered it. Uchihas were experts at manipulating silk threads and shurikens. He shook his head at Ghost Light Full Moon. It doesn't matter. We're not at war with Konoha. Finishing our objective is what's important. Let's not complicate things. We should leave. Kirigakure's chasing ninjas were out in force, hunting him. Every second wasted increased the risk, but Ghost Light Man Yu didn't budge. No, Yagura. He pointed to his bandaged, empty eye socket. His tone was ice. Remember when you asked how I lost my eye? Wait, you mean? Yagura stared in disbelief at the Uchiha kid. Could this be the Uchiha mentioned in Terumi Mei's report? Ghost Light Man Yu scoffed, a cold, murderous glint in his eye. Yep, this kid did it. Then, baring his teeth in a sneer, he said. Isn't that right, Uchiha Ci? Uchiha Ci's eyes blazed with the scarlet Sharingan, and he grinned. What, things have escalated. You want me to take out the other eye too? Ghost Light Man Yu chuckled and shook his head. He unslung his giant blade, staring coldly at Uchiha Ci. Slowly unwrapping the bandage, he revealed the wide, thick twin blades of the Hiramakari, the flatfish sword, its edges gleaming. A powerful, murderous aura suddenly filled the air. The atmosphere froze, an unbearable tension hung heavy. The civilians from Yuno country, rescued by Uchiha Ci, realized something was wrong and recoiled. Some even leaped into the raging waves, involved in a ninja fight. They'd be dead. Better to take their chances in the water. Mei Terumi realized the situation had turned sour, but everything was happening so fast she didn't know what to do. Stepping forward, she positioned herself between the three. Wait a minute, Lord Yagura, Ghost Light Full Moon, you guys. Uchiha shook his head, cutting her off. Stand back, Terumi Mei. Terumi Mei turned, her clear green eyes filled with conflict. She looked at Uchiha Ci, about to speak, but Uchiha Ci's eyes were calm, even detached. Terumi Mei, this is a ninja's fate. As long as we're stuck in this cycle, it's inevitable. I recall you saying we'd eventually be rivals, meeting on the battlefield. Even though it wasn't for long, he narrowed his eyes and took a deep breath. Looks like that time has come. Uchiha Ci suddenly clutched his abdomen. A pattern resembling an Ouroboros appeared, swirling around his palm. Dark chakra surged, flooding his limbs. Uchiha Ci's Sharingan glowed intensely, even more unnerving. The surging chakra shook the rooftop tiles, making them rattle. Another fight. Uchiha Ci, now a zero-tailed Jinchuriki, fully powered up, and able to use the Death Reaper seal again, versus Ghost Light Man Yu, whom he had already bested with 3 sword strikes. What would the outcome be? Uchiha didn't know, but he intended to find out. The wind whipped, lifting the dark green strands of Goji Yagura's hair. Astonishment, surprise, and hesitation vanished from his eyes, replaced by icy resolve. I understand. I don't want to waste time here. But I'm afraid you know too much. He inhaled deeply, raising the flower-adorned hook stick. For the good of Kirigakure, you must die here. Don't worry, I'll make it quick, and it won't hurt much. Hearing this, and seeing the devastated state of Chinlizigwa, Uchiha Ci felt a strange urge to laugh. He glared and slammed his foot down. The rooftop tiles shook, and a dozen flew up, transformed into spinning shurikens, hurtling towards the two. Using the barrage of tiles as cover, he lunged forward, hands forming seals, he summoned the water release, water fong bullet, the scarlet Sharingan scanned left and right, finally locking onto a whirlpool in the water. There is one more chapter, I will post it later.